Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Helm to Tower podcast. That's right, we're back. Talk more Destiny 2. I'm Mike Burgess, and I'm here with Alex O'Neill. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Hello.
Mike. We are here.
That's right. We're in, what is this? We're already in week 5, or this is week 4. We're recording this, but it'll be week 5 pretty much when this comes out. Wow, that's like weird to say already. That we're cruising along here in the world of Destiny 2, and it was a pretty decent week of a lot of stuff happening and going on, right? Like we had a pretty big moment in the story. If you don't want some story spoilers, I would say maybe watch out, because we're going to talk about some story stuff that happened this week. And also we got the talked about major Crucible blog update that they talked about towards the launch of Lightfall. We got that finally, and has tidbits. But I mean, we know we've said it previously that we are not the biggest Crucible heads around here in the Destiny world, but we can still talk about, because I think there is still some interesting things to at least shout out, because and they're talking about Crucible stuff. We're not going to sit here and talk about graphs, I promise. Because there's definitely a lot of graphs in that.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah, I know, right? But other than that new stuff, I just want to know, Alex, what have you been doing in the game recently? Or are you feeling the immediately outing myself of starting to feel that little like kind of seasonal fatigue? But I don't know where you're at. I'm curious where you're at right now.
I'm definitely also feeling that fatigue. But I'm good at managing it, right? Like I know when to ease off the gas a little bit with Destiny. So I tried to do some other stuff in the game this week. Iron Banner is this week. I honestly didn't actually play that much. It is for folks that don't know, I usually go pretty hard when Iron Banner comes up, because I'm like, let's get it all done. Let's just get it over with. But obviously it's 3 weeks this season now, so I feel a little bit more of that pressure coming off the shoulders, which is super nice to like know that I don't need to go as hard with Iron Banner. I ended up playing a lot of trials over the weekend as well. Not a lot, not like didn't go super hard. I basically like did 4 cards and played until I ran out of mercy. And then stopped, and I was like, all right, cool. And I wanted to get to rank 10 outside of that. So then after that point, I just hit a 7 card and then just played until I got to rank 10. So I could get the SMG and get a few rolls of that. I didn't get like what I wanted. Certainly didn't get an adept roll, but obviously that's already made a name for itself in the PvP community, it seems like. So I did a little bit of that, and then I also finished the legendary campaign with my hunter, which is probably, to be honest, is probably the most I've played hunter ever, like continuously. So it was fun to like make a couple of builds for hunter. Again, I know I do play a lot of Destiny, but I really do only play Warlock for the most part. I'll run a raid here and there with another character, and that's like really it. So it was fun to like, oh wow, like I really like this. By the time I was through it, I felt like I had a good grip on the hunter kit for solar and for strand. Solar was what I was using kind of outside of it, because I really like on your mark. I think that's like a really fun buff to get, and get like super fast reload speed. And that was really fun. Like it was to the point where I was like, I could see myself playing hunter more often. Which is, pretty wild for me, I'd say.
Yeah, a new hunter main has been unlocked.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far, but it was cool to like get an appreciation. I ended up using like, I don't have like a lot of exotics, and I certainly don't have any like good stat exotics. So I was like, what do I have? They're all just on my characters because I don't want to put them in my vault.
Yeah.
So I ended up using a Wormhusk Crown just to get some health back since it was legendary. But I will say, like, PvP. Solo, yeah, and then I went to PvP and I started jumping on people. The solo legendary experience, I had a fantastic time with. I know, some people have. I'm again not talking about the narrative. Uh, that aside, but just like the encounters, it because I've been writing my like big review of Lightfall that'll hopefully be out the week this comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, but we'll see. And I really just love the encounter design throughout that campaign, and that final boss fight like is probably my favorite non multiplayer activity boss fight in Destiny. Like I just thought it was so fun. It's obviously hectic and booping is a big thing and grappling all around and all that, but it was just like so satisfying to like thread the needle, to be able to handle targets, to like work down the tormentors mid fight while everything's going on. Like I just really, really loved that fight solo
Mm-hmm.
as much as I did when we played it for the legendary campaign. So that was really fun. I'm glad to have that done. I gotta get through Titan. I think I'll just play Titan on regular difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up getting the Certarachnes Facade exotic. I was kind of debating which hunter one to grab because I like the sound of the other one. It sounds really fun. But I may never run a Lost Sector with my hunter, so maybe I'll just never get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was cool. I knocked the trial sin out, knocked that out, played a little bit of Iron Banner earlier today. Been mostly like again easing off the gas, but I got to 1810 this week on my Warlock. So I've got all my gear done.
Nice.
So now it's like my plan is to just slowly go through the vault and infuse all my crafted weapons, which is definitely going to be an ordeal.
Yeah.
But I do want to do that at some point. And then I got my first two crafted seasonal weapons. I got the solar fusion rifle, and I got the auto rifle crafted. So I've been working on those. And
yeah.
honestly, that's really it. I haven't been able to do the exotic mission on legendary yet. I know you guys, did you give it a try this week?
Yeah, so that was going to be one of my things I was going to talk about, was like feeling that fatigue. Definitely was maybe set off a little bit by trying that mission with 3 people, and I will say maybe not to try that mission with 3 people because it did not feel like a very fun experience from the little we tried. But I will say I loaded back into it out of curiosity by myself, legendary, and it felt a little better. Just like some of those enemies just felt like a little too tanky in a way that was like not very fun to try and counteract while you're like trying to do this puzzle, and there's like 4 minotaurs you can just like, even you're like popping their shields and they just like walk nonchalantly from their shields being popped, and they're just like punch you in the face, and you're just like, I feel like I can't like counter these guys in meaningful ways other than like I have to be like suspending them all the time. But there's so much void stuff too, and it's just like, yeah, I just was not a fan of how that felt with 3 people at least.
But yeah, I played it solo legendary, and I got to the boss, and I just couldn't beat the boss.
Right.
He just had so much health, and I just didn't know what to do strategically to be able to handle it, just because those wyverns are extremely difficult to deal with in that fight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll
definitely gonna try
patch it and make it easier?
I think a pass on the difficulty of the game overall will happen. I just think it probably won't be till like next season, if at best. Like unless they've been talking up a lot this. We'll talk about it in this. We talk about the Crucible blog, and there's been some other talk of it. Like they've been talking up like a mid-season patch here, which I'm guessing is going to be like sometime in April. That like is getting a lot of things, like a lot of changes are happening in it. So I would not be surprised if there's more to it than we even realize. But because I think they said they are going to be talking about it the week this episode goes up, to like that Bungie weekly blog will be some mid-season patch preview.
Cool.
So like who knows if it'll be there, but I'm kind of guessing at best it'll be next season. If it does, I feel like there will be some passing on some of the difficulty things they've done and some tuning of it, right? Because they're just taking in all the feedback now at this point, and seeing the reactions from people like us, the more hardcore people, and the people who are like, struggling to even just, get a new exotic. Because I think that's been a thing I really thought about, and it's like it came up in like my clan particularly, because like a lot of people, my clan that I'm in is like a giant bomb clan, so it's a very mixed group where there's pretty regular guys who have been, like, we've been playing Destiny since Destiny 1 alpha, and remember this from this thing. Like they are very much like the hardcore Destiny fans. But then there's kind of the other end of like, they're like, they are very much like older gamers and dads who like, have like not to say the full on stereotype of that meme, but like, in that vein of like, they can't dedicate their all their free time to just this one game or want to do that. And of course they have like, jobs and kids and a partner and all that stuff. So they kind of struggle with just like, I have limited time to play this game and I can't even get like new exotics in this game that like just came out with this thing, or like I have limited exotics because now I have this impossible hurdle to like try and get into a reasonable level to get to like 18, the things are freaking 1830 at minimum, and I can barely get to a reasonable level to even go in there and attempt to just get a single exotic of any kind for anything, right? Like that seems like that's just going to be difficult for a new player. So I feel like that like clearly is like something I don't think they want in the long term. So I think like they might keep those still like at a higher tier, but like maybe introduce a way, like I thought they said, to like get exotics more throughout the game rather than just them being solely through lost sectors.
Yeah. They said they wanted to move that away, but currently the only other way is this public event on Neomuna that will crash your game.
Crash your game and shows up maybe like once every 2 hours. Like we don't even really know the time frame of it, it feels like. So, and that still is just like, a big question mark. So I think again, just I think they will lower. I don't know if they'll lower the difficulty, but I think there'll be like tuning of a lot of stuff. That was one of the things I remember they said, besides like all the Crucible updates that are happening in the season patch, like a bunch of they're like buffing primary weapons was like a thing they tweeted out.
In PvE, yes. This is like a big deal at this point.
Yeah, like they're buffing.
I've used this Perpetualis auto rifle, and
does not feel
any
great, right?
600 RPM auto rifle just feels like a
but then you like change to an SMG and you feel like a god. Like it just
exactly.
There's definitely some like adjustments to need to make for some of the archetypes for sure. Like I still feel that way with like a lot of pulses, where like pulses like I was playing Iron Banner today as well, and like I was using that battle scars that I really like, and that feels really good in PvP. But then like if I did not have that kinetic tremors perk in PvE, I know that thing would just not feel worthwhile to use, because that kinetic tremors like really helps with helps take up the damage of that, and those weapons just need to be brought up. And like in some ways I could see that like just like bringing up the damage of a lot of those things could alleviate some of the pain points that the difficulty spike that the game has received kind of it could help that stuff for sure. But I would not be surprised if they still like kind of adjust the power needed, and like obviously this is all stuff that they're doing probably with the far future in mind of there not being a power level to really matter or worry about. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of adjustments to come.
Yeah, there's definitely like just some weird feeling activities in the game now. Like I don't know if you run Dares of Eternity Legend for the Pinnacle every week. I usually do. I just like LFG a group on the Destiny app, just because it's like I mean, in the past it was a very breezy, like we're just gonna like spam heavy and have a good time and get through this in about 15 minutes. Now Dares of Eternity is like absurdly difficult. It's
doing harder than Root of Nightmares.
Yeah, it is for sure harder than Root of Nightmares. It's like doing a Master Nightfall with 6 people and half of them are dead all the time. Like just like it used to be like we're just stomping, we're rolling, whatever. Everyone's using Gallahorn and it doesn't matter. And now it's like seeing Last Guardian standing like 4 or 5 times every encounter, and it's like
Yeah.
super stressful, and it takes way longer, and getting the score higher is way harder.
Right.
And it just
Jeez.
doesn't feel great, you know. Like
Yeah.
I understand kind of the ubiquity of the difficulty levels and stuff. I just don't know. Like, I don't think Dares of Eternity Legend needed to be harder in any way.
Harder. Yeah, this harder task to complete this year and a half old piece of content now at this point.
Yeah, that's supposed to be basically like the chill zone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
You do get an Ascendant Shard every time you do Dares on Legend now, which is great, and I think that's a great reward. And
that's definitely better.
In a history past where people were running like 1 Legend Dares every week, I think that would be a great thing to do to get Ascendant Shards. But now it's just like not as fun, you know. It's just not as enjoyable an activity. And you know, like I really like the hero Nightfall. And I like where that's at. I know you gave the Nightfall on, like, what was it, Master?
Yeah, the tier up. That felt generally pretty all right too. The one thing I think is cool about that, I don't know if you did the arms dealer this week. I don't know if you've done this week.
I just did it on hero, but I did do it a couple of times. Yeah.
It adds a tormentor on hero too, right? Or no?
No, yeah, there's no tormentor.
So I guess that is the difference is on Master, when you like get into that section with like the elevator and you hit the switch, a tormentor like spawns in the center of that, and you gotta fight a tormentor, which is cool because like
that is cool.
It was cool. That's at least I don't know if it'll increase that kind of stuff on GM eventually, but yeah, that's what I'll say. Like we did hero, or we did the. Basically, because I wanted to start working on getting to Guardian rank 8 this week and start checking some of those things off as we kind of start moving deeper into the season. We ended up doing that, and I think pretty sure it's a Master Nightfall for that. Or no, it's a Legend. It was a Legend Nightfall because it's Hero, Legend, then Master. So we did a Legend Nightfall, which is to the 1830 Nightfall, and that generally felt fine. It was cool starting to get seeing the it's a new updated arms dealer, which I like. I see some people still giving like the updated revamped strikes a lot of beef, but I've actually kind of enjoyed it because it was fun to like kind of have this like updated experience in there, and like having that kind of puzzle work you do when you get into those harder difficulties of like, oh, okay, you can shoot those annoying ass ships that you can't shoot, the bigger threshers that like spawn enemies that have little guns, like you can shoot those guns off those things. We figured out, and like it's you're learning the little strats to like kind of work around those things in the Nightfall are really cool. Of like, okay, yeah, we can do this, and like we ended up having to. The only thing I didn't like is which again I think will be another thing they maybe adjust is like you needed to get 130k point score, as well as like completing it on Legend and getting platinum rewards on Legend, or like the difficulty things. In order to do that for this week, we had to essentially farm one of the enemies in the encounter, because you can basically like there's the dudes that like spawn the little solar balls that you have to grab and like dunk. You can, when you kill one, you can pick up the orb and then drop it again, and it'll basically disappear over time, and that dude respawns in. So we just ended up having to spend a bunch of time in those between times just murdering that dude over and over again to get our score high enough to then complete it. So I think that's weird. It's like maybe it is just one of those things where maybe there is one particular Nightfall each season that's like, oh yeah, this is the one you got to do to get that score, because it's going to be a thing all over again when you get up to, I think when you get into, I think once you're rank 8, and then you have to get to rank 9, I think you have to do a Master Nightfall. I think you have to get like a 200k score, I think is what I saw, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But I also think, I also heard people saying that you could do a Master, and that checked off the boxes of the Legend one, from what I heard, or at least the point ones, maybe. I don't know if they were what they're specifically referring to, but they said like they got credit for those things, like doing them on different difficulties. So I wonder if you can just kind of subvert it by just doing a GM when they come out later this season, and then kind of check all those boxes. That would be kind of nice if that's a possibility. For sure, we'll have to see whenever. I think GMs are in a few weeks still.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something I did this week, and yeah, we gave that legend mission a shot, and yeah, I just did not think it felt good. Whatever like the difficulty modifiers they've added to that on top of like the like the legendary difficulty, like additional like things of like scaling to multiple players. They just that just did not feel good at that tier compared to however they do it in the legendary campaign. Like I feel like the enemies were just like scaled up just a little too high in a way that like they felt beefier, and just like, you know, things that you feel like you would stun them even like on and pretty much any difficulty that it previously was just is not anymore, and they'll just run into your face in a not fun way, and like it just kind of it felt very frustrating and not fun to any of us. So we just kind of tapped out, and I'll probably try and just do that solo if I have time this weekend or coming up in this week or something. Other than that,
I haven't played any PvE since the Thursday patch. I've only been playing Iron Banner since then. So how are those Threshers treating everybody?
I definitely noticed it because we did a hero night or that legend nightfall run again after that patch. I definitely noticed like they are definitely not as hard hitting. I have not gone to like Neomuna. I felt like Neomuna was like the real place where those were like a really big factor of just being annoying when you're doing like a terminal overload. So I didn't really see it there. But even on like the legend difficulty, which is 1830, I was like, I wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like free God mode where they're just like, I'm gonna get hit by all of these and survive. But like, you know, it wasn't a thing where like I got kind of hit by a stray one, and I was able to at least like tank that one, and it could still get away from the other ones. Where I feel like before, if it's like you just got hit, you just kind of get clipped by one, you just, there you go, you're done. Body goes flailing. So it felt a little different, but I'd have to play more activities to really see if it changed a lot. But I have not also seen people being like, this wasn't changed, Bungie. Like I wasn't seeing people getting too upset about it either. So maybe it's fine. But yeah. Other than that, I did a couple runs this week with my clan. Just some typical stuff. I did get the raid exotic to drop last night. We had a triple threat.
Very jealous.
Triple threat. It was pretty cool. Like we cleared it, and 3 out of the 6 of us got like a drop and all of it. It was like, oh damn, pretty cool. Yeah, and I admittedly have not used it too much. I just like, we had that moment where you get it, and I equipped it, shot a couple of times sitting at the chests, and then went like, oh, it's pretty cool. All right, bye. All right, we're done. And I've not really like ran around in an activity or anything like that with it, but it looks cool. Sounds cool. I like the effects on it.
I like the sound. Yeah,
looks neat. So I'll definitely mess around with it for sure soon here. But yeah, that was cool. I continue to still enjoy that raid. Regardless of the difficulty discourse around it. I think it's fun and just like a cool vibe. I'm definitely curious. You know, again, we're not going to go too deep on all the stuff they talked about in the TWAB this week because there really wasn't that much. But they talked about the master mode. Ron is dropping next week. Raid is dropping next week. I believe it's next week, and then the challenge stuff will also be active as well. So you start being able to do like the extra challenges for chests and stuff, which is cool. The other thing they said is, which I thought was really interesting, is they basically said there's an interaction with Nezarek that they're adjusting or in a patch where apparently he is when you're doing damage and you're like just like chilling on a plate, he's not just supposed to be kind of just like, you know, like kind of awkwardly like wandering around it, and he's actually supposed to be coming after you. So it seems like they're going to be fixing that. I don't know if that was this week or if that was also in the mid-season patch or something. But I thought that was really interesting to hear, just because that's like, I feel like the first time I've heard like them like quote unquote like buffing a raid boss.
Yeah, outside of Riven
in some way. Yeah. But
Riven always getting like adjusted on what does damage to her,
yeah,
basically.
right. But yeah,
Yeah.
curious to see what that is. Like, I wouldn't mind that. Like, if it's like they didn't say they were really, like they kind of also stated that like we don't really generally make huge adjustments once it's live to content like that. So like, I don't expect them to suddenly be like, he's gonna have like 40 million more HP. Good luck, kind of moment. Like, I don't think it's gonna be that kind of buff, but it's just gonna like, but if it's just gonna be a thing where it's like, okay, we can't just stand at a well on a single plate and just nuke them and like basically one phase them, which are our clan, my clan group and us with a div and 5 Thunderlords are basically already doing, and it's pretty nuts. Like, I'd be cool if it's just like, all right, actually be moving around a little bit more and have to engage with the mechanics of like actually fighting him and stuff. I'm totally cool with that as well, because like that's a considering like the other part of the encounter, which is pretty straightforward, right? Of just like going to orb and stuff. Like, getting that down is pretty fast. Like, we're almost basically at the point where we can just like skip his wipe encounter. We're just like starting to get to that point where we're getting fast enough to do that. So having to engage the other part will be cool, and I'm cool with that. But other than
speaking of the raid, though, I forgot I got to take some greenies through the raid this week.
Nice, yeah, that's right.
Some folks that had three people that had not done it. One person had never raided in Destiny before,
Cool.
Which was very fun. It took us about 3 hours or so to get through it. So definitely, like, I remember the first time I did Vault of Glass way back in the day in D1, that took me like 6.5 hours. So I would say some progress in approachability. Definitely hit the, with some folks that they don't necessarily have a DPS weapon.
Yeah, just like,
so
right.
Damage. Yeah, damage was tough for Nezarec in particular, but we managed to scrape by. And yeah, I mean, they had a great time. Their take of it was that, not that it felt easier or anything, but it was all just within the scope of what they could understand in Destiny. And I thought it was cool to see like some new folks go through it and just get that experience. It's always like a joy for me to take folks that haven't seen a raid through it.
See those, see some of the like the best stuff there is in the game for sure. That's cool. Glad they
I think we got them hooked.
Taking him in the garden next, baby. Garden of Salvation.
Garden's always number 2. Yeah,
Garden's always next up. Start sinking those plates.
I could imagine. What
start making those towers. They'll never come back after that.
I'm gonna need you to tether. Get the tether box ready.
Get the tether box.
Please don't make me go back. Yeah. One person did at the end say, like, I have a quest for divinity. Is there any way we can do that? And
don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
I was like, I gotta go. I'm leaving. But it was a good time.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I also dabbled with some PvP this past week as well. I did a little bit of trials the past weekend, and then some Iron Banner as well. Trials, honestly, that was my weird takeaway. That was like this in particular for me. Like, Trials and somehow felt less sweatier than Iron Banner did for me this week, and I don't know if maybe that's whatever matchmaking differences they are. Like, they're changing these matchmaking things so much that I honestly don't even like know at a time. It's like it's just so much, and I'm just like, man, I don't care enough about this stuff to just give me my pinnacle and like a cool, like a okay-ish gun, and I'm fine. I don't need to know what this crazy stuff is going on. But I got a couple rolls that SMG. I do like it. It definitely feel. I could definitely even feel that the strength of SMGs in general in the game. You definitely got that one. I'm just like, yes, this is really good. Yeah, it's really strong.
Yeah,
I got my favorite role. I did get a rangefinder kill clip one, which I'm happy with, even though like I don't know how much I'll use it in PV. I mean, I probably will use it in PvP even if they nerf it, but I'll have to mess with it a little bit. But I was using the other role I got because it's more also slightly more fun one in PvE as well, and that was Perpetual Motion and Demolitionist. And that's actually been really
Nice.
fun. On a lot of my strand builds on my characters are, focused on having my grapples and melee and getting everything back. So those like still working in tandem because of the grapple being a grenade and stuff is pretty fun
Yeah.
combo. So that's been
That
fun.
That one strand fragment plus demolitionist is like extremely potent. That they get your grenade energy on damage. Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of fun. But yeah, trials. That was definitely, I noticed that where it's just like I played through trials and it felt okay, and I had a bad time. I didn't bad time because you could tell they like, I know they did like the matchmaking where it makes it so it doesn't do like trios or people who are like in squads against others. I definitely noticed like, that was definitely not as bad. And that it was better. I pretty much didn't see any of that, which was nice.
I'm generally really impressed with the Fireteam based matchmaking as someone who like really leaned on freelance in the past. Like I do think that whatever they've got going on for that to kind of eliminate the freelance node is working very well. And yeah, I had a pretty good experience in that regard with trials. I had a lot of very sweaty trials matches, but I had like a lot of really good ones where people were like not toxic, and it was just like relatively the same skill on both sides, and they were just really close matches that were really fun. To the point, it's like a good match when everybody stays at the end to give accommodations. That was basically my qualifier for that. So yeah, I ended up having some like genuinely fun, close, intense matches. It was pretty sweaty at a point where I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't want to have any more sweaty fights. And yeah, Iron Banner has just been a clusterfuck. I wouldn't say it's like been super sweaty, but it's just been like either we're rolling them or they're rolling us. And that's that's kind of always Iron Banner.
yeah, it's definitely hard to like parse that stuff, but it definitely just that's what it at least felt like to me. Like I felt like it wasn't that they were like super easy matches in trials. It's just like it was similar to what you said. Like they just felt it felt more lax. Intense. It did not feel like they were people who were like being like a-holes and like try hardy about it. They were just we were just kind of playing and having a right time and like using like fun guns and stuff. And it wasn't just like some person that was clearly just like watched YouTube video X and is just going to use this most broken thing. And that's all I'm here for. Like I went Iron Banner, and that's almost what it like. I feel like I was pretty much always that, where it's just like I don't know where like the sudden like hype on using Witherhoard all over again came from. But that thing was everywhere, and that was just like getting really annoying, and just people using it in extremely cheesy ways, and just
yes, that did happen to me.
There's a lot like I was getting that constantly, and then like the I figured I was gonna see a lot of like the solar firebolt things. Those things those things were really annoying as well. Where you're just staying, you're just like sitting there, just not even doing anything. You can just see it, just randomly flies out of nowhere, and you're just like, and it just blink, and it just kind of hits you. Just like some dude just like randomly threw that across the map, just like for no reason, and it just auto target something. And it's just I don't know. They just felt annoying to fight against.
The worst is like in what's it, Bannerfall, like the Earth map that's like symmetrical with the two lanes and the two doors, like going through there, and then 5 firebolt grenades just thrown over the
they're just hurled over the thing,
and it just absolutely kills the whole team immediately. And I'm like, well, all right, this is a problem probably.
And it sucks because like I understand like they didn't want stasis all over again, but I've been predominantly using strand like in those matches because I just like using strand, and like seeing the difference to those like insane tracking like grenades that they have this season for whatever reason to then use my hoping to use a threadling grenade and that be at all useful. It just did not feel as useful as I was hoping it would. And so those scenarios where you like throw it and they just like they come out and they're just like the slowest things ever, and you just see people just kind of, I'm watching people like not even like sprint away from it, they're just kind of like lightly walking backwards, and they just like they can't even like keep up or like even hit them, and even if they do hit them, like you know, I see a full 3 from a strand grenade hit an enemy and they just like tank it entirely. You're just like, well, okay, well, that's, you know, I get it. They track, and that would be very annoying. And some things, considering they have 2, you know, Warlocks currently have 2 of those to easily track. Well, I guess all classes can have them technically too because of the
all classes
mod. But this is the thing where I think that the Warlock has like a powered up one. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
with the
they
aspect.
have
So
the
that's
3 bolts and the better tracking and the bigger radius.
Right.
So it's like. It's and then now they get 2 of them. So
yes,
trust me, that's what I've been using in PvP.
So. It's great. Oh yeah, I want to know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I was happy that I didn't run into it a lot in trials because I know.
Yeah,
for, like,
I didn't see it
tiers,
that much either. Yeah,
yeah, that was a problem apparently, but it wasn't too bad for me.
Yeah.
I saw like a lot of different builds in trials, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I definitely had a better time overall, but you know, I do like that. You know, I did not get too many. I have not been honestly going for too many of the Iron Banner guns currently, but I do like that now they have all those armor sets back, and I've been definitely focusing a piece of each here and there, playing a little bit this week. So that's like a cool thing that I'll probably, you know, give me a reason to, like, you know, when it does come up again in a week or two, to like actually jump back and it's like, all right, I can get a couple Crucible Iron Banner Engrams and throw those at getting those armor sets collected and stuff. So I like that aspect of it. And also like getting the whatchamacallit, like now we're getting like shaders and other things, like dropping into the match is cool too. I do like that. I've been seeing a decent amount of those. And it's not just been like, you know, they're like super rare or anything. It's just like, no, I got like a couple shaders and each of the playlists now already, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would like to see whatever numbers they have for Defiance engrams and how those drop. And I know you can buff it with some of those unlocks. I want to see that on all playlists.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick. Yeah.
I would just really think that's super nice.
Yeah, just have the engrams raining, or like what I think would be cool is when they have those double, like the increased rep ranks have like increased like engram drops or something on top of that, or like maybe have it so like this week it's like Crucible booster, but you have like increased engram drops in this playlist or something. Like I think that could be something they could do, but I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you ran into it, but when I was playing trials engrams would drop for me, but they go into your engrams inventory. They do not go to Saint like I think that they're supposed to. And those ones you cannot focus like you could before because they're not on Saint.
That sounds like a bug then, because I didn't have that happen. I just had the engrams on Saint for like leveling up or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that there is probably that fixing that, and then maybe just throwing a ton of engrams on every playlist. They could maybe do that. Yeah,
it would be cool for sure. But I mean, like it would be cool, but I also think like they need to solve the other thing, which I've seen people slowly starting to come up is like, man, they found the secret, whatever. They finally think they've hit the secret sauce of like they are draining a lot of people's legendary shards and cores and things like that finally in a way that like is like okay-ish, because like, you know, some of us are like longtime players and like I have a pretty healthy bank of them, and I know like I can probably, now that I'm also in that 18-10ish range, I can kind of like stop and kind of start collecting up some of that stuff again generally. But I still feel like like that I think they like if they want to keep that, I think they need to find better ways to like give more of those, or have more direct farms of like things like cores and other things that aren't just like, I don't know, log in every single day and do 4 bounties on the gunsmith, and that's like the best way to get cores right now. Or if you just have a stockpile of those matter weaves, sit in this cave for hours and get this guy, because like I know they added them to what the law sector too, but like I don't think any people barely want to farm that for an exotic right now. So like getting like two legend or two what is it enhancement cores for 10-15 minutes trying to clear this like hard ass law sector now like does not feel like a good way to do that. So I think they should find more stuff to like give those away in as well. Would be nice, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I've burned through Glimmer faster. Like I've restocked my Glimmer like 4 times since the expansion came out, which is wild. I just never need that. But like with updating crafted weapons and everything, like it is just.
And that's the thing. That's actually a good point. Like I haven't even like crafted anything really yet, and I'm still like kind of burning through a lot of that stuff. So like add that on top of that, and I'm probably going to be out even more stuff pretty soon here. So yeah, that's they need to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mostly what I've been doing. That's pretty much what we've all been doing here in the game. But yeah, I definitely will say I've once I think the season, I think we're the week this will drop, we're gonna be in that final kind of week here of like the seasonal story. Because I think there's only like 3 or 4 things left in it from what if I remember. It's like, we only have a couple of things left. Yeah. So I think this will be the last week. And maybe there'll be something at the very end, very, very end of the season, but I don't think so, just because this season in particular, I think Guardian Games goes till the end of the season. Like it's the last 3 weeks. So I don't think we'll have like a end of season event, but maybe it's still possible. But
yeah,
I think next week we'll kind of wrap it up, and then we'll be on to the next season after that. But let's we've been talking a lot about Crucible. I think we can kind of quickly go through some of the stuff that was in the blog here.
Let's do that, and then we can talk about the story.
Then we'll talk about the stories. We'll leave the spoilers for folks to the end in case you haven't played it yet for some reason, don't want to spoil. But granted, Bungie has already tweeted out that cutscene. I think already. Like sometimes they do that. Like they do it like a couple days after the reset. So it's out there. What's happened? But yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, they did the Crucible blog this week that they talked up and be like, we want to hear more about Crucible for Lightfall. There wasn't like there was updates to Crucible stuff in general at the start of the season. Start with Lightfall, but there wasn't like as much I think as people were expecting. But they did say that up front, and we're like, hey, we're gonna have a blog, kind of detailing what's to come later in this mid season and as well as seasons and beyond. So let's get in here. I think a big thing here that they're basically like essentially kind of reverting a lot of they did a lot of like playlist consolidation. I think it was it last season they did this, or was it the season? It was
last season.
Before this, they're literally kind of undoing that now at this point, and have kind of gone back to like how the playlists are now, or were prior to that, where now Control is just going to be its own playlist again. That playlist will be converted into the Iron Banner playlist when Iron Banner is up for that week. So that's something to keep in mind. And then Clash, because right now I think is like quick play, that is going to go into a different rotator, and there's now going to be 2 rotating weekly playlist like nodes, where one is going to be, I think it's Clash, Rift, and another mode, which are more zone control. Yeah. So they're like more like, objective-y based modes, or just like more, not the standard control mode. There are going to be variants of that. And then there's going to be kind of like the more, I guess I would call it like the more casual, silly modes like Mayhem and Momentum Control. And I think Scorched, I think those 3 will be their own playlist as well. Like they are now pretty much, but now they will be separated into those 2, mixing and rotating ones. So that's going to happen not next season, but that's actually happening in the mid-season patch as well. They stated, so that'll be later. That'll be like in a couple weeks, whenever that mid-season patch hits. So
yeah, I assume probably like April, second week of April.
Yeah, I'm guessing like it'll probably be like mid-April. I'm guessing it'll be like right before mid late April, because I think Guardian Games is like is like pretty much
May.
most of all
Yeah.
of May, so it'll probably at least be before that, I would imagine. So that's something that's happening, and I think they talked about, like, I think that control playlist will have a looser kind of skill based matchmaking approach to it, because I know people are very not a fan of that. So I think they're trying to make a more, like, quote unquote chill vibes playlist for people who just want to sit in Crucible and don't
Yeah.
want to sweat every match. They can kind of go in these kind of more chill playlists, which that's fine. That's there for those
Yeah.
people who want that.
Yeah, and the party playlist will not have skill based match. It'll be connection based match.
Yeah, it'd be connection based matchmaking as well. So yeah, that's all. That's fine. That's the again. I think that's, again, we are not the PvP folks over here, so we're not gonna have like the hot takes or be really upset. We're just gonna be like, okay, yeah, sure, that's okay, that playlist. Another cool thing that's they talked about, like, those are kind of the general things, but they talked more about the competitive playlist and updates to that. That is getting a few things here in the mid-season patch as well. Mainly there'll be a new emblem that looks pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen that emblem is in that playlist. It's pretty cool looking. It's like a little competitive and has kind of the Crucible, like, red kind of like arrows, and it has a bunch of like guardians in it. It's very cool looking.
Yeah.
I think those are actually the Iron Lords now that I'm looking at it, because I see like Saint and Felwinter, and maybe that's what they're going for there, or maybe that's something. Maybe they're just other general characters. Looks cool.
Yeah,
Looks cool,
like,
nonetheless.
Felwinter.
Yeah, Felwinter's
Helm
there.
is like using stasis, so I don't think that's like canonically Felwinter, but I think it's just like because like the hunter on the right has like Celestial Nighthawk.
Yeah, it's just
so
like
I think it's just kind of showing off the subclasses and all that.
Yeah, cool looking regardless. But
I love the vibe.
Yeah, that'll be for, like, basically if you've hit Ascendant 3. So if you're like kind of max rank in, I think that's like basically the max rank, you will get that emblem there to like kind of show off. So that's pretty cool for people who want to chase that, an extra thing to chase. But next season will be there'll be a lot more stuff. So the start of Season of the Deep. So basically, starting next season, they're gonna rotate out the Rose hand cannon you can get now. There will be a new sniper rifle that you can get only from that playlist, in a similar way to how Rose works now, where you do like you can do your 3 placements and get some drops of it, and keep playing and try and get better drops. But that's gonna rotate out Rose. But they did say that, like, I think in a later season, I'm guessing they will probably add like some kind of competitive division focusing weapons. That would be my guess, like, once they have a couple of those. But they said this will happen every other season. So basically, it's not the season after Season of the Deep, but the one after that, there will be another new competitive division weapon like that. So they're going to basically swap them out every other season. So that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. They also have another new Season 21 Ascendant emblem. So it's this one that's in there, and that'll be their mid-season, will then be a new one to get at the start of Season 21 to get to that Ascendant rank. And then there will also be a thing you can get, which this is the first time they've done one of these, where it is a transmat effect. That's like the effects that when you when you spawned in or respawned, like a little like kind of graphic pops up. Those are what those are. I immediately forget what those are. Sometimes that's why I'll explain them. So I totally get it if you forget, like, what the heck are those transmat effects? What? I forget they're in the game sometimes. But basically is a thing where it'll show like your competitive division rank, like when you spawn in, and it'll change with whatever your rank is. So like if you're like in gold rank, it'll like flash like the competitive division rank with like a gold thing, and then it'll keep going up as you rank up, and it'll kind of flash like the little graphics that go with those ranks in here. So that's pretty cool. that's something. And then you'll just get that by ranking up and completing stuff in the competitive divisions, stuff you can earn just by playing that mode.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
They showed off like a video of like all the different ones that it can be.
Hmm.
Very cool. Definitely like a cool move when you spawn in Crucible and you see like the Ascendant
Yeah.
thing and the sparks come out. Like it's definitely like a cool cosmetic to have, I think.
Yeah. Just more artable stuff from that is always a good thing. I'm sure people would like more stuff like weapons and whatnot, but at least they're getting rewards track started for that, and I think that's good. A good place to start,
Yeah.
for sure. So that was kind of the big thing. Like again, there was a lot of other stuff in this talk besides like these kind of like reward changes and like mode changes and things. Like there was like tons of graphs being like, here's how fire team matchmaking works. Like please believe us, this is working properly. Like stop being mad at us. Like because this matchmaking it actually works. And here's how and here's all the stuff they like gave you. There's like tons and tons of graphs and little breakdowns in that. So like if you're really curious about that, I would go track that blog down. I'll link it in our YouTube thing, but we're not going to get too in depth with all of those here. But just know, there's a lot of matchmaking talk in that blog as well. That was I'm sure interesting to some folks. Anyway, we were talking about competitive vision sounds fine and all. But there's going to be some interesting updates to the Crucible Crucible technically in the Trials of Osiris game mode. There it is. It's gonna be a bunch of interesting updates to Trials happening next season. Again, I think it falls into line with all this matchmaking stuff they kind of go over in that blog, where they're kind of getting away from the different pools of freelance queues and the normal queues. They want to have just the one. And it kind of, it's more fire team based, and it kind of syncs people up that way. This feels like another kind of thing to kind of keep the solo players safe, so to speak. With a lot of these changes, they sound kind of neat. I think. So basically, like the two big things are now in the Trials matchmaking updates. There will be basically two pools now, where there'll be the Challenger pool, which they describe as this is where the most players who currently play Trials on a week-to-week basis and who want to go flawless will play. It represents an experience more like the original iteration of Trials in D1, without the focus on making games more difficult as the card progresses or after you've been flawless. So it seems like it'll just be a more general pool rather than it's exactly going up like, oh, okay, these teams are both on like 7 wins or whatever. This pool match is based solely on connection. There is no matchmaking based on tickets. Wins on tickets are weekly wins or skills. So it's basically it just goes. So you could be somebody who's just gone into your first Trials match in this Challenger pool, or you could be on your 7th win and just go at it. It could be either or. But on the other end of that, besides the Challenger pool, there will be the practice pool. This pool is targeted at new or less experienced players who are not ready to give going flawless a shot, and represents a place for them to dip their toes into Trials without being thrown straight into the deep end. This pool match is based on connection and weekly performance, how well you've done in Trials this week, and resets every week. Only players with a flawed card or those in their first game of the week can play in this pool. Everyone in your fire team must have a flawed card or be on their first game of the week. So there you go. This pool has Stomp protection. If you are consistently struggling, it will reduce your weekly performance rating to give you slightly easier matches until you recover. So that means if you're just getting silly clapped, you'll be kind of helped out and kind of thrown into this pool, so to speak. And there's also farming protection. The system detects that you or a fire team member are likely attempting to farm the practice pool. It will slow down your matchmaking times initially, and if you continue, it will lock you into Challenger pool for the remainder of the weekend, regardless of your card state. So that's a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just, I guess if you're, I guess I'm trying to think of how you would game that under this new system that they're going for, because it's not a thing where you want to reset your card a bunch before you get your 7 wins to stay out of the flawless pool. Like,
Yeah, but people would reset their cards after a single win for sure, just to keep
just to
going into
keep
this
just to
pool and
keep
hurting
going.
people.
Yeah, for sure.
So
For sure. And like, I'm just wondering if there's a way to, like, if you keep your card flawed, and like, can people, like, I guess it would be a lot more work, but I feel like there would be ways where, like, have a team of 3 and you all have flawed cards, and then you just kind of lose for a while, and then you can just go in there and stomp. But ultimately, it would just put you back in that pool regardless. So like, you wouldn't really be getting much, I guess ultimately. Because I'm curious. What is this? How this will go? But I don't think it sounds relatively good on paper, at least. We'll just have to see how it's implemented for sure, right? And then they'll make tweaks and stuff.
yeah,
They say, as always, we'll be playing alongside you in both pools and monitoring feedback on the new matchmaking system as the season progresses. We intend to push it live full time in season 21. Okay, so actually, never mind. It will be this season where they do this. Oh no, this is, I guess they're going to try it out in the season and then see how it goes and then do it. Maybe that's what it is.
it says later in season
In
20 we will have a
more
more in-depth discussion about
trials, including additional changes. Yeah, they're coming to the game mode in season 21. As a preview, we'll be looking at update to passages, the wealth passage, reward extra trials rank on every win. The amount of reward increases as your major rank increases. That sounds pretty good. Basically the, like, farm rewards passage. Mercy is then will now forgive 2 losses if you have not been flawless for the week. Reverts to the old behavior of forgiving a single loss once you go flawless. So that's pretty cool.
Huge
So
deal.
Get an extra loss on that card. Yeah, that could be a big difference for sure.
There used to be a card, I don't remember it exactly, but in D1 there was like a card where it might have been the Mercy card, if you got like a certain amount of wins in a row, you would like get your Mercy back. So this seems to be kind of taking after that.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is great. The like 3 strikes you're out in the pool, and you can just keep trying until you go your first flawless that weekend. I just think that's super great.
Yeah. It definitely opens it up for a lot of people for sure, which I think is always a cool thing. What else? The other thing they said, there'll be a new flawless emblem, rewarded for going flawless without ever trailing in your wins. So that'll be interesting. That means just basically if you go 7-0, like, yeah, you could get something more.
Also like never go down in rounds, basically.
Yeah, that could
That's
be pretty
tough.
That could be pretty crazy. Experiment changing the main trials game mode to be zone capture elimination, which has been renamed to Dominion. So there's like basically like a bigger shift in using trials, not just being the 3v3 elimination. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, I wonder, because I don't know about that being the main mode. I wonder, we haven't had like a zone trials since the bubble changes yet, so we got to see how that looks.
Yeah,
I think
that's true,
and then go from there.
That's true, but yeah, I'm open to it just from the idea of like having a different mode for a different time. Like, I look at it as like, we have trials way more than we have Iron Banner.
Mm-hmm.
So just having one weekend where it's like, oh yeah, just have this mode this weekend, because why not? Could be all right.
Yeah.
And then but those are like the main things overall for that. But yeah, these sound pretty cool. Overall, clearly still they like trials, and clearly I think trials is still kind of the most. I feel like it's still like the most popular kind of thing about PvP generally overall. So clearly it seems like a lot of the more interesting changes were there, in my opinion. But clearly they, again, I know it's a harp on, Crucible doesn't get enough love, but here's, a pretty big blog post about, things they want to do. And of course we obviously know, like, each season now, we're like, so next season, you're getting a whole update to the competitive division and these trials changes. and a new weapon in
a new
competitive
map.
division, a new map,
Yeah.
and then another thing we're getting into here is like another game mode as well. So like I don't know, I think you're starting to get up there with like Crucible's getting a lot of updates.
Meanwhile, Gambit is Gambit.
Gambit is still not going to be talked about for quite some time, probably.
I also reset my Gambit rank last weekend, so that's probably why I'm
Yeesh.
burned out.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of Gambit right now. Jesus Christ, wilding over here.
Gilded Dredgen times 3, baby. Let's go.
Gross.
I know. It just kind of happened, man. All right.
Good. So just a haze, and all of a sudden, the Drifter showed up, and he's like, "Hey, brother, let's get some moats.
I got a reward for you."
Jeez. All right. Well, other than that, they did talk about some other modes. They're returning across the Crucible landscape. Mainly, it's Countdown is soon. I actually
Search and destroy.
So. It'll actually, I think, be going up this next week. It'll be week 5. For it, it'll go in Crucible Labs. So it'll be Crucible Labs first this season. I'm guessing it'll probably go into one of like the rotators the following season, maybe, I would guess.
Yeah.
But there's like multiple variants of that of itself, because there's the classic one, which was like they said is like that was like apparently the Trials of the 9 mode originally, was like defusing bombs and stuff.
Yep. I played that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I probably did as well, but I honestly do not remember it at all.
Yeah. It was wild times back then. 4v4 trials with everyone double primary team shooting everyone. It was not a fun time.
Yeah. Kind of a mess for sure. But then there's 2 other variants, which is Countdown Respawns. That means you'll just be like respawning it, and then Rush, which I think Rush was the one where they said essentially it's like multi-bomb. You have to like be the team that like diffuses a bunch of the bombs in the area. So that's cool. So yeah, so basically starting this, I think it'll be starting this week. The episode goes up. It'll be Countdown Classic in the Crucible Labs, and then I think the weeks after will be those other variants.
Yeah, Countdown Respawn sounds super fun. Everyone gets 1 token. It's kind of like search and destroy. Countdown is search and destroy for folks who have played Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Super fun mode. I actually search and destroy is probably like my favorite mode in Call of Duty back in the day. Outside of obviously just team deathmatch. They did other stuff like gun game was okay, and kill confirmed is fine. They used to have a kill confirmed mode in Destiny as well, which was a very where people would drop engrams and you had to
pick them up and then I remember that.
I bet they'll probably bring that back with this like rate of bringing back old game modes.
Yeah, definitely have the vibe as well.
But yeah, Countdown Respawn sounds like a super fun take on that mode, and they usually go pretty quick. It's like 1 minute 30 rounds, kind of like Trials. So I like Countdown. I'm excited to see it come back with like the new era of Destiny that we are in. Yeah,
definitely curious to see it. What people think about it who are more Crucible minded. Then the last thing they talked about a new mode that they're going to do in the future, which is called Checkmate. But basically, Checkmate is a new set of game rules that intends to create a slower paced experience. Players have more opportunity to react to encounters where power spikes are earned rather than guaranteed. This includes changes to how special ammo is acquired, ability recharge rates, weapon time to kill, and other player health settings. This mode is a significant shift from our core experience, so we're currently targeting the Season 22 timeframe to make sure we have time to tune the many interacting systems. So that'll basically be season after Season of the Deep. Well, that'll show up that'll probably be like in their Crucible Labs kind of thing. What would be my guess? Excitingly, Checkmate is built as a modifier like we use in Nightfalls and can be easily applied to multiple standard modes to give us maximum flexibility going forward. As we get closer to the final shape, we hope to convert some of our other modes of Momentum and Mayhem into modifiers too. That's pretty cool. You know what that sounds like to me? For the future of the Crucible, custom game modes.
Yeah, that's real. That does sound like that.
That's like, at least this is like, or it's the how they pave the road to that stuff, where they make them modifiers that they can kind of throw onto things, and then they can go, hey, load into this custom game mode and make your own tweaks and things to this game mode, and then try them out and invite people in and whatever. I could see that coming post
Yeah.
final shape, because as they said, this wouldn't be till later in that. But yeah, Crucible.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, they still didn't explain what checkmate is, so I just really want to know.
Yeah,
what it is.
they didn't get into specifics, right? But it did say. I think it sounded just more like, Destiny. It feels like, there's very, since they said time to kill, it's like I think they're looking more at like, I think weapons might take a little longer to kill or might be faster to kill than what they are currently in like the standard of what you'd expect from Destiny. And it sounds like it's more not just like it sounds also like, you might not just have like your abilities recharging very easily all the time. You might not need to do something to get them back, like get kills or do things to earn them, or earning ammo, and not just being like a random drop on the map somewhere. I think that's maybe what they're going to go for. At least it's the vibe, where it'll not be like you have to like earn your kills and play a little more strategically rather than just go wild.
Yeah, it seems like it. I'm curious to see how it works out, but yeah, thinking about it now, also I'm just sitting here thinking like, man, it'd be really cool if there was a gun game mode in Destiny where you like played with 20 different exotics, basically.
Yeah, I would like that a lot too.
That'd be super fun.
Yeah, some kind of gun game or like crazy mode like that where you get a kill and it just swaps you to some random weapon. Yeah, I would like that a lot as
That'd
well.
Be cool.
They'll get there maybe one day. But yeah, Crucible is a thing. I still am not, they're trying more and more, and I I can't, you can't say that. I feel like you can't be that hard anymore. I know there'll always be people who want more. So like you can't really ever please them in some regards, but like, considering they, it seems like, they have a pretty strong foundation of stuff moving forward every season now, where it sounds like, you can expect game modes and maps literally every season up till final shape now, which I think is more than there's ever been before, right? So I think there's that. And on top of now also like more things in the competitive playlist. Like the one thing I would call out that I would have liked to have heard as well is like armor sets and other like things in that realm, because they didn't really talk about that at all. It'd be kind of cool if there are a bunch of trials updates next week. If there was also a new armor set to go get in trials, would be cool. Or just the general playlist, because that's one thing that I think was maybe overlooked was, last Beyond Light and Witch Queen, they did like new playlist, armor sets for all three playlists, and they didn't do it for Lightfall for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. They never really said why or why not they didn't really do that. Granted, they did do a bunch of the focusing stuff, so you can go get like older stuff, but like that's still just like still would like a new set to go get. So maybe who knows? Maybe we'll see something like that in next season. But curious about that stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a lot of Crucible stuff, but I don't think they'll ever hit that Taken King pace that they ever had before. But boy, I love the idea of a Destiny map pack. To be honest, let's go old school with this.
Old school map pack. Like if it wasn't confusing to buy Destiny expansions and things enough, let's add some map packs in there, baby.
Exactly. Dungeon key and map pack.
Dungeon keys and map packs next to getting the legacy pack that is just
the
Dreaming City weapons.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. All kinds of weird stuff. But yeah, who knows where that'll go. But it seems like they're trying. They're getting more stuff. They're bringing maps back. They're making a new map.
A lot of effort is being put in. Objectively,
there's definitely more effort than there's ever been.
Yeah.
So you'll just have to make do or deal with it. People who are who they're out there going like this wasn't enough, like, and whatever, man, like, just chill.
Yeah, I know. Those people will never be happy, though.
Those people will never be happy, or maybe it's just time to realize like maybe you should not play Destiny solely as a PvP game, because that's just not, it's not built like that. Just like there's still a lot of things I love about the PvE aspects, but the game is a lot of the PvE is still made with PvP in mind in this game, even though like they have gotten better about like balancing them a little bit more separately. Like there's still a lot of stuff that's like done with PvP in mind that kind of makes the PvE experience less fun in Destiny, and it's always kind of a bummer when that does happen for people like us who are more PvE minded. So we got to deal with each other at the end of the day. So it's like
we're stuck with each other.
So it is what it is. But yeah, Crucible updates. That's all we got. Let's talk about the big story event that happened this week. So spoilers for folks, if you hadn't played it yet, this is your hopping off point. If you don't want to be spoiled by story stuff that happened this week.
If you haven't logged into Twitter
haven't logged into Twitter somehow, it's too bad. That's it's oh well. But yeah, we had the fourth week of the story, the seasonal story this week, and big moments happened. For sure. So basically it started off with you getting basically sort of a distress call from Mithrax and Amanda. They went to go do a mission, and they kind of called you in because they think it's a trap of some kind and they need some backup. And then you get there and you start playing through, it's on the EDZ, and you start playing through the tunnel, like you go through those tunnels in the EDZ, which you haven't been in. If you played year 1 Destiny 2, you've probably not been in since then. Since
the Red War.
The Red War campaign, and you play through that whole section. It's a pretty fun mission, like pretty simple, but it was cool.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to that little area. They make the really silly conceit of like you need to go in quiet. They can't know you're here, so don't get on your Sparrow. And it's like, okay, I get it. They don't want you zooming through this whole thing or whatever, being done in like 5 minutes. But yeah, you go through that. You have like a big kind of climactic battle with a Tormentor at the end, which is cool. You'll get to 1v1 a Tormentor, and then you get a cutscene where they free some prisoners. Mithrax helps some prisoners escape. Amanda's breaks open a thing and kind of hot wires a door so he can escape with prisoners. Aramis is on the radio warning them like they shouldn't have came here, doing all this stuff, and then the base explodes with Amanda Holiday inside it.
First character death we've had in a long time.
I mean, we had Rasputin last season, to be fair.
Yeah.
But that was definitely like definitely. I feel like we had kind of saw the little kind of pieces throughout the season. I think we made one of the, even our like stream we did for Lightfall, we made the joke of like, wait, why does Rahul have all of Amanda Holiday's stuff? Oh,
yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's always a grim warning.
Yeah, so I kind of, the writing was on the wall a little bit, but it definitely was like kind of like, it felt pretty all of a sudden in that moment. So maybe it was just kind of how the scene went down. Mm-hmm. I thought it would have maybe been like a little bit more of a heroic entryway, but I think it also, in fairness, like even though it wasn't like it didn't need to be this heroic action movie moment, like it still like was a cool moment to like kind of again see that the kind of the whole theme of the season is seeing kind of the human element of this whole war and impact of like all of this stuff, crazy, insane space stuff going on, and us going into alternate dimensions and fighting aliens and space monsters with these like two humans who are just like, I don't know, man, we're just here, just kind of, we're trying to, my partner's over here, man, I'm just in this, I just hide in this watchtower, like Deborah live audio lines, and Amanda just being like, what are you guys even talking about? What is this stuff gets weirder every time, like like it shows that I think they did a good job of like showing those kind of differences more directly in game, which I thought was nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, what did you think of the whole Amanda's death scene and all of that stuff?
Yeah, it was very dramatic. It was cool. Like, we don't get, I know obviously like the big moment with Rasputin, it was so built up, right? That it's I guess hard for me to register. And also Rasputin's died like 3 times. He's definitely dead for real now, but
Yeah, they put him in a body just to kill him.
yeah, exactly. Super
That's
messed up.
that's serious.
It's one of those things too where like because of Lance Reddick passing and like there's a moment after with Zavala it's very heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
But people have been passing around that video from like one of the Destiny 2 launch trailers, like CG trailer. It shows like Zavala's history,
Yep.
right? And him meeting the Iron Lords, which is just like heart-wrenching on a whole nother level now.
Another level now. Yeah.
But because of the flashback scene we got, I think 2 weeks ago with Amanda, I realize now at the end the little girl with the red scarf that comes up to him is young Amanda Holiday.
Yeah, that was her.
And I was like, oh, that's
good connection.
Like it was like such a cool like little thing that now like when they did the her backstory cutscene, that why she looked like that and why it was like such an iconic appearance. So like that I think hit me as well. Just a little bit of like, oh, like she really has been here from the beginning. She's a big part of the Taken King campaign.
Yeah.
Because like that's like her and Cade basically setting up the thing to get you on the Dreadnought. And that's kind of like the first time she really had a lot of stuff going on ever in Destiny.
Yeah.
So she's definitely an OG character that I really like. I know she's kind of the butt of a lot of jokes of like, why are we getting so much Holiday when there are other characters in this universe?
Yeah.
But like you said, I think Amanda is like kind of what I feel like they wanted Soraya Hawthorne to be, right? She is the human element to the squad. And where Hawthorne kind of like, they just didn't really do anything with her after the Red War. They did keep doing stuff with Amanda, and she's a great character. So it is definitely like heart-wrenching to see like she is now like the second character as part of this war that we've lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not like in the crowd of people that think that this was a stupid thing to happen. At some point people are going to die. They definitely set it up. Yeah. I think she's had a great arc in the story. I'm curious how it's going to have an effect on Crow. Obviously Crow's like, we need vengeance.
Yeah, we need to get vengeance. Yeah, he gives you his serious, staunch, he's going back to some of his old ways kind of moment there towards the end. So I think that'll probably be what we wrap the season up with next week a little bit. I'd be curious if that's what those kind of last little bits will be, is like going on some mission with him and him having like some reconciliation with his old Crow ways, or maybe the other way around where he just kind of embraces it a little bit. Like, maybe in a not so great way. I guess we'll see where that goes. I want to get your thing, because I definitely saw this, of course, with the weird way death works in the world of Destiny. Of these things that can bring people back to life. Do you think they're going to bring her back as a guardian?
I think like the only way that they could get away with that, I don't think so generally. But the only way I could see them getting away with that is like in the final moments of the final shape, like if like, and we'll talk about our speculation a little bit in just a few moments, but like if
I think where you're going, I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
Okay. If like part of that campaign is like reviving the Traveler, which I assume it will be, or undoing whatever the Witness did to it, presumably by going in its hoo-ha or whatever. Apologies for the phrasing.
But at least you didn't say Travussy.
Yeah, I did go that far. Bring the Bondussy back. And we had to bring it up at some point.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Yep.
If like there's like this moment where like the Traveler like explodes with light and resurrects like all the characters that we've seen all at the same time for like a final climactic battle, Avenger style, like that's like the only way I could see it, and I don't necessarily see them doing that at all. Yeah. But right. I like setting the stage of like, well, people that die now are dead because the Traveler is, for all intents and purposes, dead, and is certainly isn't producing new ghosts, but I know that there are probably some ghosts still left out there, so I don't know if they can resurrect people still. We still have a lot of
Yeah,
questions on that
yeah.
regard.
That was I did have the similar feelings of like I have that similar spot of like we don't really know where the Traveler stands right now because it has the weird portal in it and characters in the game are referencing it being dead and like the connection, like the ghosts don't feel the connection with them, and like you have that little scene with Zavala and Korra after the end moments of Lightfall being like they think it's like they're calling the Traveler dead essentially, and like what does that actually mean, the Traveler being dead? We don't really even know like how do we all still have our light powers, like they really didn't really contextualize that, even though like the Traveler's dead we still have our light powers somehow. So does that mean like the ghosts just are conduits enough to hold all the light, or can they still revive people? I guess they can because they revive us. I guess they have to be loose with it because from a gameplay perspective, they can't just have us for years now just having everything just wipe us. Everything that murders us just being have to go through a whole respawn thing, right? But like, I don't know. Again, there's still a lot of those questions that they've clearly left open, like what all this actually means. So yeah, like it's still like so many question marks for better or worse. When right now it's just like I don't really know what if I don't think that could be a thing or not because just everything is so open.
I mean, I have speculated that every major character will die and be resurrected by the Traveler. Like I've said, Mithrax will die and be resurrected. I've said Ido will, Keitel will. Like I will put a fucking ghost bet on every character in the game. But Amanda Holiday is unfortunately not one of them. I think like they've made it pretty clear that she's dead. And also you gotta we take the moment to recognize that if she was resurrected, she would be a new character, right? I don't think they would do they would do what they were doing with Crow because it's way, way, way more interesting to do that than versus like Holiday's back.
She is. Yeah, she's back now. She can just go stand in the tower again and sell sparrows. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no one wants that. Like that's way less interesting, and that does a disservice to her character if she came back with a new name and had a different personality. That would be really cool, and I would be so okay with that for sure, especially if like her and Crow don't get along all of a sudden, and now there's like an interesting thing there, and now he is like going through what Mara went through with him, and he's gaining empathy. Like there's definitely a cool story to tell there. I don't necessarily think that they're going to do that because I think they have all the characters that they need for the final shape at this point.
That might be something to again like you said, like that could come back post final shape. In a world where like all of a sudden it's like whatever, maybe in the final spurts of maybe a bunch of people are going to die this like over the course of this year leading up to final shape, but then like in the final shape it'll be some moment where they have like it's like your end game where everyone comes back, but in the Guardian sense that like they don't know who they are and they're but they're back in this world, and then you're revisiting all these characters who have been basically reset into potentially completely different characters or completely different paths and stuff because of that.
That could be cool too.
That could be a very interesting direction they could go with for sure.
That sets the world up in a really cool way for future storytelling. Of like, oh, now you're gonna now it makes sense to add a new race as like a selectable character and a new class, like that's like a Fallen class or a Cabal class, and like slowly it's like, okay, what does Arc, Solar, and Void look like on a Fallen and like a Splicer class or something like that? Like, there's tons of crazy stuff they could do, and in a post Final Shape world, and that is like part of it that I think I would be super into. So
for sure. But I think it was definitely a much more overall. Her death was definitely a much more powerful moment because of the passing of Lance Reddick, unfortunately, the week before all this. Definitely pretty crazy how the world can kind of just change very rapidly like that, within a few days time. But seeing that moment for sure was definitely like, oof, there's a lot.
Yeah, it's
heavy seeing Zavala kneel down in front of a deathbed. But it was interesting time for the story of Destiny for sure, with all this stuff going on. Yeah, we'll have one more week here, a couple more things to see. We'll have to see where that goes. And again, I don't think it'll be anything too crazy. I think it'll just kind of leave us in a little interesting, like an interesting note. Usually, what it always does for the end of a season. And I think I'm gonna kind of guess that like whatever next season is will be kind of more the kind of start of like whatever the build up is to go season over season, so to speak. I think that'll be a bigger drop, so to speak. That's kind of what it's been in more recent years, to be fair, because I think that's usually how it's been going, where we get a lot more stuff. So yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, let's. I think it's time we talked a little bit here about some theories of where things are going. So I think it's time to throw out some theories here. We already threw out some final shape moments here, but where do we think we might go next season? I think there's a pretty big. I think there's two pathways, at least in my mind, they could go, and I think it's almost like in some ways 50-50 where the season can go, just because, and that's off the stuff we have in the season, what we've learned from the exotic missions and other things like that. But I want to know where you think we're going and what's going to happen next season or in like future seasons that we're about to get into after Defiance.
I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think the most assured way for me is like to work backward, right? Like I think the final shape, whatever it is, right, we're going in that hoo-ha. Like the traveler portal, the goal is to get in there, and I think that's the expansion. And the cool thing is, like, I'm hoping the destination is inside the traveler or in this extra dimensional sense of whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
It could be wild. Like that's the cool thing.
Yeah,
like,
we really don't know what it could be. Really, maybe the raid could be a little bit of an indication with all the crazy traveler light growth, but like I feel like it could be a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah, if it's like truly an alternate dimension, like not to. I'm probably gonna bring up Endwalker and Final Fantasy 14 quite a few times here. Just because it's my other point of reference for this.
Sure.
But like I really love the last destination that you go to in Endwalker. It is this kind of impossible to explain destination at the like very end of reality. Very Final Fantasy final destination for sure. Cool. And I when you're going into presumably some kind of alternate dimension is where this portal leads. Like all bets are off. Like it can be a totally inorganic or totally organic world, universe, anything. Definitely like the idea of like going to the garden and the Winnower, Gardener and Winnower, and that being like kind of this plane above existence and reality. So like working backwards, right? That's probably what the final shape is, or at least the destination for final shape.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you.
We're following the witness
going
into this. And please God bring on a new enemy race when we go in there. There's like truly no better destination to have one than an alternate dimension.
An alternate dimension with new stuff, that we've never seen before.
So working backwards from there, I would say like the season before that is how do we get in? So I'm thinking it's like we have to change ourselves in some way, or we have to build a ship. And building a ship is usually like the thing to get you there, right? Like that we have to create a thing. So I'm thinking season 22 is going to be building some kind of craft or vessel that can get into there. So then working backwards from that, I would bet that season 21 is going to be the Savathûn season, whatever's going on with Savathûn. And then going backwards from that is Season of the Deep. And I think Titan is probably where that's going to be. That's like one of those two kind of 50-50 destinations that they're laying out in the lore as far as where things could go. And I feel like Titan makes the most sense. And it makes sense for Deep, right? Titan is like this big ocean planet,
for
essentially.
Sure.
So that is where I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm on the I'm in somewhat of a similar. I think our starting and end points are pretty similar. I think I just have different ideas of how we get there, but that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. I do agree 100% that yeah, final shape is we're going in the traveler portal. We're going in, and whatever's on the other end is yeah the destination and wherever the witness is. And I definitely think the witness will be a situation where they will be probably that we will probably fight them maybe in the campaign, but they have to 100% be like the raid
Yeah,
boss. It has to be
I see
like
an Oryx situation
yeah,
basically where you
100%.
you fight him and then he goes to his throne world. I imagine the witness probably has a throne world.
Yeah, or something
Um,
like that. Yeah, or whatever weird alternate reality crap because we don't really know what like his power is or what their power is or like what they're capable of. So like there could be something completely beyond like what we know about like throne worlds or something else entirely. Um, who even knows?
True.
Maybe the inside of the traveler is the witness's throne world
That-
or
I
whatever.
I was
But
thinking that could be it. Yeah.
but yeah, but it could be something else completely. An idea I had. So this is where I was going with it about how we get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the big thing we saw at the end of this was like the way the witness got in was the traveler and the veil linking together, and that like allowed the witness to open the traveler up and get inside more or less,
Mm-hmm.
or they used whatever like that moment to like make the portal in him however they did it. I think because the veil has been left such a huge mystery, um us us figuring out what the veil is, and then we're going to use the veil ourselves to essentially recreate what the witness did to open up the traveler and get ourselves inside of it. That's what I think we're going to be doing. Like we're gonna establish that connection again, whatever way we need to, whatever we did, and like you said, kind of go maybe beyond what we thought we could do as like guardians and normal characters, whatever, to establish that connection, like the witness does with our ghost. He uses our ghost to make that connection in the final scenes. So the precedent is there for us to have that ability if he's using our own ghost, to then make that link again, and that lets us go in after him.
Mm-hmm.
How we make that link, I think that's going to be the thing that we're building up each season over season. Is like we're going to learn. They already said next season in Season of the Deep we're getting a separate story mission that's going to be on Neomuna with. I think they said it's like you and Osiris investigating more about the Veil.
Yep.
And then that'll also be a free for everybody. It's not even like a seasonal thing. It'll just be a thing that's very important, clearly, to the next parts of the story of Destiny and going into the final shape. And it involves the veil, as we all know what the hell the veil is. Oh my god, people lose their minds still about what it is, whatever. We're that is what it is at this point. We just need to move on because it's that's clearly what's going to be the big
That's
thing
the
about
mystery.
it. That's the mystery they need to build for the next year probably, and I think that's going to be what it is. I think ultimately we're just going to be figuring it out in our own way each season over season, how to build that connection again so that we can use it to get inside the traveler.
Yes. Do you want to hear my crackpot theory? Because I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
My absolute crackpot theory. That kind of is why I laid it out that way. Like Titan 2, then the whatever the Savathun season is.
Yeah.
Because I think that ends with us resurrecting Savathun, bringing her back, and because she knows what the veil is, or at least has more information on it.
Right.
She tells us that the veil is the key, and we turn the veil into the ship that we take through the travel.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's my like big brain crackpot super
we
theory.
use the veil as a ship. That's a good one. I definitely think Savathun coming back in some way, shape, or form is happening this year. I honestly think there's a potential for it to be sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Like even as in soon as the next season, because like you said, we're going back to Titan. The Titan has clear, we've learned from that exotic mission, or no, it wasn't the exotic mission. I think it was exotic mission.
It was.
It was the Winterbite one, or it wasn't the Vexcalibur one. That's like a different thing that I'll get into But I don't think we learned anything about Titan from that. But it was the Winterbite stuff. And that was kind of like that's kind of the lead we have of like we know there's something going on with Titan, and what that and like there's what did they say, an enemy to the witness on Titan, I think is what basically it was like more or less getting to.
Yeah.
Which leaves a lot of questions, right? Of like, who could that be that's there? Like, I know people are immediately going to like, it's the weird Leviathan thing that's in the water. It's been there the whole time. Like, it's got to be like some sentient thing. Like, I guess
could be cool.
It could be, I guess. Like, I could also just see that being a big ass sea creature and whatever, and maybe there's something else completely.
It's Sloane.
Sloane's back, baby. Let's go.
Sloane will be a part of whatever that story is, but maybe she's not like the thing.
yeah, I definitely think they could bring her back in a cool way of just being the like conduit of like what's been going here this whole time, that like it's been in there, and like what she's seen from being like taken, the planet being taken by whatever it was taken by. But I think that's coming. I think that is happening because I think us taking Savathun back potentially. No, that's what it is. I think Savathun is somehow on Titan or something like that. Maybe that's how they're going to do it. Or maybe the key to reviving Savathun is on Titan, because he said an enemy of the witness is there. Maybe that's where, for whatever reason, her ghost has hidden away on. So maybe that's why we end up going there. Or like, the big question is like how we even get Titan back. Because I guess it will appear like Mars does. Maybe that's like something like in running away. What I'm guessing is maybe that like how they could set up maybe is like Savathun's ghost has been on the run still this whole time, and maybe got to Titan somehow, and Xivu Arath was chasing the ghost down, and her forces end up coming to Titan and like bringing Titan back out of whatever that was, because there is precedent for that, because in the Witch Queen, Savathun's ship appeared on that returning Mars out of that thing, so maybe she was the one who did that, and I guess maybe her ghost just does that for her or something.
Yeah,
which then leads us to going when they go, oh, Titan's back and something's going down there, and that leads us to going there at the start of the season, and then we realize, oh, whoa, Xivu Arath is trying to get Savathun's ghost. We probably let's like go save it or something, and then that just leads us down the path to doing a horrible deed of probably reviving Savathun, and then Savathun probably tells us, yes, like you said, like the veil's important, the veil's the key, yada yada, which then leads us to what I think the next season will be about, and I think that's going to be about saving Asher Mir. I think that's where we're going to go next, because he clearly also knows a lot about the Veil. Because I think that's like the next direction we'll go. Maybe we'll learn that more through the mission we do with Osiris and like trying to investigate the Veil the next season or something. But clearly, like doing that freaking exotic mission. If you've done all the secret stuff in there and gotten all the chests, I don't know if you've done that yet or not.
I think I've done 2 out of.
So.
However many.
Okay. So, spoilers. Sorry, but this goes into the theory.
I'm curious. So,
if you collect all of the Vexcalibur chests, like the secret chests that are across the thing, and complete the mission, there's a room that opens up at the end of the mission. After you like complete the boss, if you go in there, a big ass hologram of the fucking Veil is there in the room, and Mithrax gives you like a dialogue breakdown of just like he's basically saying like Asher Mir is like showing us this, and is like it's like, and it's you don't talk to him indirectly. It's again, it's like how the mission usually is, where it's like Mithrax kind of trying to decipher all of what his Asher Mir is trying to tell us. Mm-hmm. So he basically says like, this is something, they don't outright say it's the Veil, but we know it's the Veil because if you saw like, you can see on the one side, it has like the big crazy purple portal thing that you can go see on Neomuna. And they've also, people from Bungie have tweeted out like, concept art of like the crazy purple or like weird black dark side,
Roots.
and then the
Yeah.
white root side. It's literally the one for one. That thing as a big hologram in this room. It's massive, and you're just
Okay.
they're just like, okay, Asher knows about this thing, and the Vex know about it too, and all this other stuff. And like it's, I don't know the word for word. I don't remember like specifically, but basically it is that. And so he clearly knows a lot about this thing as well from the Vex and all the things he's gotten from the Vex. So I think like, well, if it's that, if he clearly knows that much and is able to get that information from the Vex, like we need him, right. Like that's like too important of a thing in my mind. So I think like that's gonna be the season after. So I think it can go either way. To be completely honest, like I think we could have that season where we're going deeper into the Vex network to save Asher, try and save Ashermir, or have more direct contact with him to get the information we need or get him out or whatever. Could be next season, or it could be the season after that, or we could go to the Titan season or before and do that and like have this thing where we're trying to save the ghost or thing, or go to Titan for whatever reason. We end up going to find whoever this enemy of the witness is, whoever that ends up being. Could be our theory of the Savathun ghost. It could be the Leviathan under the water this whole time, or it could be somebody else completely.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
like
need
the
to.
seven. I like the Ignavoon guess. Like Savathun's ghost being
Yeah,
on Titan is a cool twist.
yeah,
And again, tying Xavier Wrath into it, like what is she doing? The witness is like fucked off for as
yeah.
far as we know.
He's in the portal, and they just kind of left everybody around, and like
Very
all
single-minded, right?
yeah.
So
It's just like I don't think we obviously have not seen Zivu at all, and I would imagine like she has to reveal herself at some point, and I feel like that would be like clearly that's like the at least the more obvious connection, right? To be like in our attempts to like figure out what's going on with Savathun and her ghost and where that ghost whereabout is. I feel like that's probably what Shivu would be doing at this point, because now there's like, well, why can't I'm not going into the Traveler, or like Savathun was the last person to know about what the witness was trying to do and going into this portal, and he just kind of left us here. Like, what is going on? Like, that probably is like clearly like the most obvious thing for her to probably go seek out is her sister, who knew about all this stuff and did all the crazy plans to try and thwart the witness in the first place, right?
also like just in conjunction with the veil, right? Like there's this quote from the raid that has like stuck with me in a big way, where Nezarek mentions the veil and he says the coveted key to the witness's plans and the sapid secret of its first victims, which is just sapid in this, like, apparently I've not heard that word. It's not a word I hear in casual conversation a lot.
Yeah.
It's like pleasant, like enjoying, like having a strong pleasant taste is the definition. So like this, I guess, like reward from its first victims, and that just like
I wonder.
like
I
so
wonder
much
if,
there.
Yeah. I wonder if that because I feel like they could be taken multiple ways just because of
Yeah.
the thing of Nezarek, right? Of like, it could have been the victims of the veil. Maybe how that's how Nezarek views it. They're victims of whatever the veil's thing was, and then he could feed off their nightmares for that thing, right? Like it could be, I could see it being that, or like, yeah, maybe the veil is some fucked up thing and what it could do to people.
Yeah, I take it more as like the veil was with the traveler. Like when I see that veil concept art, the way the roots extend out into this empty sphere, it looks like it could just perfectly wrap around the traveler, and then the other half would be the weird portal part.
Sure, yeah.
It's probably small. It's small. It looks generally smaller than the traveler. I don't know. It's kind of hard to get an idea of the size from just like the one boss fight, but I wonder if that implies that the witness was in the people that the traveler first met, and that it pulled it out of the traveler in a weird way. Like that's like the guess, the crazy, tin hat guess that I can make now.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that we learn about the Veil is us learning more about the origins of the Witness.
Yeah.
So like, I still think that while we're going to learn more about it going forward, we're not going to get the whole picture until the final shape, because I would bet we're not going to get the Witnesses like lore backstory until the lore book for that raid. So, just for folks that are already upset that they don't know, that's kind of my guess. But yeah, that's really cool to hear about that extra room with Mira. I don't know if we're gonna save Asher Mira. I'm like less convinced of it. But I wonder if like there is like, I don't know if he's gonna get his own dedicated season, but I do think that he could be a part of a future season.
Yeah. I definitely think they like getting that information from him in some way, shape, or form makes sense. Yeah, but what form that takes, who knows? Maybe you could just be a dungeon or something.
Ooh, that'd actually be cool.
Yeah, like where we go back like
a Vex Network dungeon.
A Vex Network dungeon where we like have to get in contact with him somehow through that, and getting information about the Veil from him through that or whatever. And yeah, and I'd be totally cool if it's just like something like that, where like it's not necessarily like us like pulling him out in whatever crazy like Vex Network form he's taken, where he's like digitized or whatever, but it's more just like kind of what you get in that exotic mission, where it's like these weird sort of piecemeal messages from him. Granted, I think there is some lore where like he actually is like talking to people. Like I think it's like some lore piece where he like is yelling at kids over a radio message or something. So I guess he is like alive in some form, that he's like able to talk, but what that means, who knows? But yeah, I think he's definitely an important player in the course of this year. Whether that'll be a full season or just like a dungeon, or maybe we might not see him again till the final shape, and then in the final shape there's maybe like a very important mission where you go with him to do something related to the Veil or whatever. But I don't know where that'll go. But I definitely think ultimately, wherever the pieces will lie, I think I agree with you that like I think that final season leading into the final shape is us, maybe not building a ship itself, but maybe just like I could see, this is maybe like a little bit of a cop out, but I could see it just like we're just kind of gonna repurpose the Helm as this conduit of the connection with the Veil to like let us burst through it, because it's still the Helm, and you can do all these things, and you're going there every week anyway to like do the story quests for the season anyway, and then they can continue to use the Helm as like the hub, even when it's like inside the crazy traveler reality or whatever.
As long as the Helm doesn't get blown up in one of these seasons, I mean, we'd be out of the podcast at that point.
I know, right? We have to
rebrand already.
Rebrand everything. No. Only 9 episodes. Come on.
Come on.
Can't believe Bungie would do that to us. But anything else you can think of? I guess I said one dungeon idea, but do you have any ideas for like any dungeon ideas or things like that you'd want to see, or other season ideas?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of dungeon ideas. That's really good. I like a Vex Network dungeon. Always sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah. Agreed.
I would really think like a Titan dungeon would be really cool.
Yeah,
just like
that'd be cool too.
I could definitely see them doing a Leviathan style, bring back a vaulted destination. I feel like it's going to be Titan with how they set up Titan. And have it be like a public zone.
Yeah, I feel like it is just like equal in size in some ways to like or they like maybe it's like a little bit bigger than Leviathan was, but like not that much bigger, and they could probably still like take out some sections that aren't really necessary, like you aren't going to be doing. I would imagine it could be a very similar setup to like you said, Leviathan.
Hopefully a little bit more interesting than how Leviathan was handled, right, where you can only really hang out in one zone to do stuff, and then they're just like
to bring back everybody's favorite strike.
Oh yeah, Sabbathin song, baby. Let's go back.
I was gonna say, if anything though, I feel like it would be like if they're in the cadence of kind of doing these like sort of reprised strikes. I feel like it would be maybe like in the same environment as Sabbathin song, but it'd be a completely different strike. I would imagine. at this
Yeah,
point,
that
though.
would be cool. But like having us go into that like mall and stuff and have a
Yeah.
whole dungeon there, like I could have spent a whole game in that area of Titan.
Yeah,
So
agreed. Yeah, it's a really cool environment. So yeah, I'd be really stoked if they
yeah,
brought it back. Definitely, probably one of my favorite or OG Destiny 2 like planets
yeah.
for sure.
I think like Io being in the story more than likely will happen because like much like in Red War, right? That was like where the Traveler first arrived, right? Like so having us come back to that to try and reconnect with Traveler makes sense for something like season 23. Um, yeah, I'm also like hung up in a little weirdness of like Lance Reddick being gone, so like that changes kind
Yeah,
of where Zavala is going to be in the story. So I think pivoting maybe to have Ikora be a bit more of a central character, which they did, and it worked really well for Witch Queen. I think having her be
hmm
a little bit more central to everything and having her kind of step up could be a big part of going back to Io as well, because that's where she hid out during the Red War.
yeah,
So yeah, I think Io will come into play at some point. But
hmm
I don't know how. It's tough. Like, like it's kind of like Beyond Light or Beyond Light going or Witch Queen going into Lightfall. It's like, you know, we knew something was going to happen with Rasputin, and we knew something was probably going to happen with like Aramis. Similar deal of like we know
yeah,
something's going to happen on Titan.
yeah,
I know Savathun's got to come back, and like how and all the pieces that happen in the middle there
yeah,
are kind of up for grabs. But yeah, my most confident is like the last season being like Season of Arrivals 2.0 and us like preparing to like go to war. We're going to follow the witness in and we're going to kill it.
yeah.
Like that's the goal.
Yeah, we're going to fight.
Yeah, and it's like a last stand. Like I
We're
definitely
bringing the fight. Yeah, we're finishing the fight.
finishing the fight. Yeah, 10 years later, right? And yeah, I don't know. There's still definitely the possibility too of the final shape ending up coming out like say next September instead of next February as well. Like that is something I've kept in the back of my mind, to have it be like perfectly 10 years after, and also give them more time so that way, you know, we don't have a Lightfall situation
Sure.
where things end up being a little bit more mixed than Bungie wants. Like I think more than anything they want to stick this landing.
Yeah. Stick
And
this ending, quote unquote ending.
and they want it to be like to go back to Endwalker, right? Like the nice thing about that, Endwalker is like a much longer expansion than the previous ones for Final Fantasy 14, but it wraps up the whole story versus like Shadowkeep or Shadowbringers. Jesus, too many expansions. Shadowbringers, like the story of that didn't really wrap up at the end of Shadowbringers. It ends up wrapping in 6.3, the third major story update afterwards. I want and kind of similar here where it's like, you know, Witch Queen ended, but like there was a lot more going on in Season of the Risen and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
They got to end it at the end of the Final Shape raid. Like that raid needs to be the swan song ending of the story.
Yeah.
Kind of like the King's Fall raid was for Taken King. So I want them to that season. Like I'd be okay if that season is totally different and starts like 4 weeks after Final Shape comes out, right? Like is like a late,
or just like the season. The season is almost like an epilogue in some ways of just like finishing off everything, and then like the season after that is like when we like kind of begin something else completely. In some ways, just like, you know.
Yeah, and I so like don't tie it into that season, or if they do, have it be something like an epilogue.
Yeah.
That's like a fun like kind of bringing in the memories week over week. So yeah, that's like where my mind is at too. Of like this could be coming out later, and then like there's also the 10-year anniversary of Destiny in September of 2024. So that is like a potential to do another anniversary pack type thing.
Yeah.
If they do end up putting out the Final Shape in February or summer or whatever. So yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen between then and now. That's kind of hard to nail down.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, very interesting waters to go into. Like, I think that's definitely something they have to be more. That's something I really hope at least they're more explicit about. I mean, they're not gonna get super detailed, but like at least give us the overarching of like they need to tell us like this year, when they give us that kind of, probably, probably going to be
In August.
August, September time of like, when they're going to do like a proper expansion reveal, final shape reveal. They need to say like, we're going to continue supporting Destiny 2 as a game, or if like, or if we're going to be moving on to something else years after that. Like they really need to be more explicit about and like set expectations for people, with that sooner rather than later. I think like when that expansion is starting to come out, they like need to have those answers. I think,
Yeah.
at least that's my personal feelings on that, because like we already see so many people just being like Destiny 3's next. They're gonna come out with Final Shape in February, and the year after that it's Destiny 3, and it's like no, that's I do not see that happening. It's just I don't
see it.
It's you're just that would, with all the other stuff that they're doing now internally, potentially with other games and stuff. Like it's just they're not. It's just that it works. I think they just need to be clear about that stuff sooner to set the expectations for Destiny going forward, because they're clearly making more Destiny, regardless if it's a new game or if it's going to be more supporting for content. Like it's clear they're doing that. It's just what form is that? They need to be a little bit more clear about what that is, for sure. But yeah, other stuff this year that I would love to see for sure. Yeah, like you said, yeah, either Vex Network Dungeon would be really rad. As much as we got all the cool Vex Network stuff this season, like with the new Strike, with Neomuna and the new and like some of like the exotic mission, which are pretty cool overall. Vex Network Dungeon would be really rad. Or like a Titan dungeon, yeah, for sure. Like going into like the weird depths of Titan, going even deeper, and or something. And
yeah, maybe have us fight that worm at the end.
Yeah, maybe we can finally see whatever that weird ass Leviathan thing is. Yeah, if it is like just like a worm, it turned out just to be like a hive worm, maybe like a baby hive god worm or whatever that is. That could be cool, or if it's just something else completely. Who knows? I think like tying up that mystery would be kind of a cool seasonal approach, and I think it could go with like they've talked about a lot, like them kind of fitting to these weird like themes of like what the kind of our guardians look like each season. Like they kind of went with like knights and like kind of knights this season with the armor, but then there was like cowboys obviously, and the more like weird like swashbuckler kind of piratey looks, like doing
we need a ninja set.
Yeah, ninja set's got to be soon. That could be really cool. I was thinking if it is Titan and it's called Seas of the Deep, like some kind of weird deep sea explorer kind of suits, kind of looking
like diver
helmets, diving stuff. I could see them going for that as well. Some like weird subnautical looking looks or whatever.
Or like a new take on like the Taken armor could also be in with that.
Yeah, that could be cool as well. Yeah, like some Taken stuff. Yeah, like stuff like that I would love to see. Again, I think, them kind of refining some of the systems we've talked about, like that'll obviously come, but I'm hopeful for that stuff of like them kind of ironing out Guardian ranks and like the commendation stuff, and so they can pave this way to the game, the Destiny without grinding for a power level and pinnacles and stuff. Like I want to see that future for Destiny, like them to achieve that and actually be like received well, and not be like like it's almost there and maybe you gotta kind of give, like I hope they're able to kind of find that smooth landing into that stuff later this year rather than it being kind of rocky. But they're definitely at least trying to set the road for that stuff. I think it's really good. I think other than that, like I am very curious about what the reprised raid is going to be this year.
That's what I was going to bring up.
We are going to have that after the season, after Season of the Deep. So season that's going to be 22, I think. Mm-hmm. I think it's basically 50-50 between either Wrath Machine or OG Leviathan. I think those are going to be the two either ors for me, I think.
Yeah.
I think I would. I think we did talk about this a little bit in a previous episode, but like, I feel like it makes sense to just complete the trifecta and have Wrath this year. But also I could see them just doing Leviathan again this year because it is like pertinent with Callus being the big bad this year, and we'll have other stuff going on, and then, like, those weapons are really cool. They did bring back the Leviathan in full last year with that, so they could kind of still have that rather than making all this new stuff. So I could see that, and maybe them like saving Wrath for the 10-year anniversary for Destiny or whatever. That could be something too. I could be fine with. We'll see how they go. Regardless, though, I think what I'm curious about is like how they're going to handle the exotic for that raid. I feel like at this point it would have to be either a completely new exotic for either either of them. If they do Leviathan or that has to be a completely new exotic, or like they have to bring back a Destiny 1 exotic, popular Destiny 1 exotic, which like I don't think there's that many left they can do. That will like be like really hype for people. I mean, I think you know better than I would, at least, but I don't really see a lot of the popular. I feel like the ones they've talked about a lot that people would want, they just kind of have outright said like no to, because they were just like so broken in the way they worked in Destiny 1. They would not bring them back in those forms in Destiny 2. So at that point, they're just making a new thing anyway. Like, I think that's like how they've talked about Icebreaker. And there was one other gun as well that's like a similar thing, because it like regenerated ammo or something. Yeah. And they just would not bring them back in that form. So I think I would ultimately just prefer a new exotic if they were to go that route. So we'll have to see what the future of Destiny is. Always the thing to think about a lot, right?
Yeah, and like, we're also getting Vault of Glass is going to get some level of an update this year.
Yeah, true.
With crafted weapons and new perks on all of the weapons.
Yep.
And I think along with that, I would bet that the time lost versions of those weapons will become enhanceable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
which would make a lot of sense. So yeah, that reprised raid, I really don't know. I feel like doing Leviathan would be cool for like the Year of Callus, hashtag Year of Luigi all over again. And it would be cool. Like, what if they just like did everything that was the same in Leviathan, except you actually just fight Callus at the end?
Yeah, they put Shadow Legion Cabal throughout it instead of the current Cabal or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Or Tormentors and stuff.
Remix it that way or something. That could be cool.
Yeah, because that could be a cool way to do a Destiny 2 raid.
Repriced, but
I like don't. I'm curious what raid reprisal and all that is going to look like going forward, if they're going to keep doing that, or if that's just been a thing to kind of fill in the blanks in the meantime and update D1 stuff. But I love it if by the end of Destiny 2's total lifespan we have every raid in Destiny in it. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it this week for Helm to Tower. That's right. I think we'll be back for another episode next week, because we can talk about whatever happens in the season finale, and we are also supposed to be getting that mid-season patch note preview. But after that, though, I think we've talked about it before. We might take like a little reprieve from some episodes, a planned reprieve. So I think we'll probably do next week's episode. So that'll be episode 10, baby. And then we'll probably maybe take a break till maybe like a 1 or 2 week break till we get closer to that end of season, and they start kind of giving us those kind of juicier blog posts about updates in season 21, whatever, all that stuff that's going to come. So just to give people a heads up on that. But yeah, thanks again everybody for joining us for another fun episode of Helm the Tower. It's fun to always talk crackpot theories with you, Alex.
I got tons of them.
With Alex, and indeed. I hope the Crucible part wasn't too boring for folks either. But hey, some people like that. It's fine.
They love it.
They love it.
I do want to know if folks are still listening. Comment your crackpot theories. I want to know what you think the year ahead is going to look like.
Yeah, feel free to let us know. Yeah, what you think about what the seasons are going to be about, or like if you have your own weird theories about the Veil or whatever else. Oh yeah, feel free to leave them in the comments here on YouTube, where you can watch us. We can watch us talk about Destiny in video form, or you can listen to us on podcast services. But yeah, wherever you watch or listen to us, thank you as always. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.